How do you rate cycleways? Two ways. One, read all these books, look at the social impacts, the times, you take travel, look at access, look at accidents, get all people together. What the hell does that mean? I get that. Alternatively, go to skid, S-K-I-D-D, skid.me, me.uk, United Kingdom. Skid.me.uk, here you go along there, and look for transport, or look for cycle routes halfway down the page, but we'll click on transport. Then click on cycling. Ignore all the other stuff, it's all rubbish. And then click on cycle route classification. And here you've got cycle routes, an objective guide to an objective assessment guide. So initially this looks complex, but it's not particularly. I mean, what's the length of a route? Measure that in kilometres, etc, etc. And all the stuff here on the left hand side is just details to fill in. It's not even that necessary, just, you know, where's the start point and the end point, whatever. What I want to concentrate on is the right hand columns here, to give the thing a rating. It's all very well saying a route's brilliant or a route's terrible, but let's put a number on it so we can compare other routes side by side. So we can compare a cycle route with the road which runs nearby to get from your school to your house, for instance. So, 7 criteria to look at. 1, the surface. If it's got a great surface, give it 2 points. If it's got an iffy surface, like cobbles or, you know, cinders or compacted, we'll give it 1. If it hasn't got a surface to talk about, don't give it a point. It's not saying it's the worst thing in the world. I mean, there's no surface here to cycle on, but it's worth it, whatever. The second criteria to look at is the width here. Now, if it's less than a metre, don't give it a point. If it's between 1 metre and 2 metres, if 2 of you can cycle abreast, give it a point. If it's nice and wide, you can go along there with your family or your friends, chatting away, singing, looking at the birds, taking the air, give it 2 points. That's criteria number 2. Criteria number 3 is, have it got traffic? If a car comes along every 5 minutes, if it's got more than 10 cars an hour, don't give it a point. You know, it's a road, it's not a cycle route. If there's a few cars an hour, maybe 1 to 10 cars an hour, give it 1 point. If there's no cars at all, if there's no motor vehicles, give it 2 points. Top rack. It's lovely to cycle along with no cars. You'd let your kids do it. So if there's no cars, give it 2 points. Very few cars, 1 point. Few cars, 1 point. No point, sorry. So there the 2 pointers are all out of the way. Now there's a few 0 or binary decisions. Are there any stops? Do you have to stop on the route? If you have to stop, 0 points. If you can bowl along without stopping, without any enforced stops, and that's here, give it a point. Of course, you give a motorway a point if you didn't have to stop, and if you get stuck in a traffic jam, you don't like it. Danger. We're not talking about meteorite danger or smallpox here, but if there's an immediate danger, if you want to be careful with your kids going along underneath, say for instance, a narrow bridge with a canal right next to you and slippy and a bumpy surface, that's no points. But if you can kind of proceed, if you're happy to let your kids go along it, in general, that's worth 1 point. Danger, danger. Navigability. Is it easy to navigate? If it's easy to navigate, give it a point. If it's not easy to navigate, don't give it a point. What are your criteria? Again, let's bring kids into this, emotional blackmail. If you can say, follow that cycle route there to Amadablam or wherever you're going. If a 10-year-old can do that, without being confused and looking at a map and saying, which way do I go now? If it's easy enough to navigate, give it a point. If it's not easy to navigate, don't give it a point. And, signage can make a difference. Even if the route is confusing, providing signage is unambiguous, that makes it reasonably easy to navigate. Do you know what I mean? And finally, the route itself. Say you're going from A to B, and you've got a road going between here, and you've got a cycle route going all the way down here. The cycle route is not the quickest way. If the cycle route's the quickest way, by all means, give it a point. But if the cycle route's longer than the alternative, don't give it a point. So there you have 7 criteria, which added together you can get a maximum of 10 points. 10 out of 10 if the road's reasonably wide, so you can cycle several abreast, that is well surfaced, so you don't actually ruin your bike falling into potholes. If it's easy enough to navigate so you can see where you're going, and if there's no cars, well, that's a 10 out of 10. But I have been on routes which have scored 0. So one thing to bear in mind as well is taken as little portions, parts of a route may score 10. But if a route is advertised as being an entirety, a chain as weak as its weakest link, if there's one stop in a route which is advertised as 10 miles, that means it's a 0 on the stop factor. So I'm not disputing that some parts of cycleways might be good, but if you're saying we've got a route from A to B, the weakest point is the criteria which you use. If you had a meal at a restaurant and everything was terrific, but there was maggots in the coffee, you'd complain about the restaurant. It would get 0 stars. And it's the same with this thing. This is not a perfectly precise method, but hell's bells, it's a lot simpler than this lot. I've explained it in 5 minutes. This lot takes 5 years. And anybody can do it. So you go to skidd.me.uk and you'll get a better explanation. I'll put the link below on YouTube. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this objective assessment into practice in the field, and I'm going to explore the Bradford to Leeds Cycleway, or they call it a cycle superhighway, which is absolutely fantastic because certainly we have no roads which are called superhighways in this country, so it must be really special. Look at the cynicism here. And again, the reason I've established this system is so I don't have to be subjective, that we can have a measurable scale to give to the value of a facility. If I was being subjective about this, if I was giving you my opinion, I've not been on it yet, never explored it, but I know it's going to be rubbish. I know it's going to be tokenism in the extreme, and I'm pretty sure, and I stand to be corrected, that the people who are responsible for it are all, well, look at us being really green. But they are not achieving anything. And don't ever forget that being good for cyclists is being good for motorists, like me. Because if we can get one cyclist off the road, that is better for the cyclist, it's so much safer, and it's better for the motorist because you don't have to go to bed one night thinking, oh my God, I've just run over a bloke or a girl who swerved in front of me. Inverted commas. So, next up, Leeds Bradford Cycleway. Wait. Outside Bradford Cathedral at the start of the Leeds Bradford Leeds Cycle Superhighway. So we're going to judge this on 7 different criteria, and straight away it fails on a couple of criteria. So first criteria, is there any enforced stops? And if you basically check out the beginning of the journey, outside Bradford Cathedral there's an enforced stop. Then, is it wide enough for 2 abreast? Well, no, it's not. So that's down to 1 on that. So it's down to an 8 already. Danger? Yeah, there's danger. So the danger criteria is out of the way, because basically if you fell off into the path of that bus, you'd be doomed, immediate danger. Then we've got traffic, and we've got plenty of traffic. So what we've got left is we've got surface, navigability. Is it navigable? Well, actually, I would say no. This is counterintuitive. Crossing the road is, you wouldn't let your 10-year-old child do that. So it's unnavigable. So straight away, we've got so many things which are wrong with this, and I've not even got on the bike yet. I'm on the bike now, and you can see it's in hyperlapse, because you don't want to watch me riding around Leeds and Bradford for an hour. So we're at 8 times speed and uphill, lots of junctions, and straight away we have one of these immediate stops where the cyclist has to press a button in order to stop all the traffic to cross the road. Now, it's pertinent that none of the traffic has to press a button to stop cyclists or pedestrians. And this immediate stop we've had, and by the way, the light turns red before you cross the road, which means that a car can say, he crossed on red, gov. Straight away we have some detritus on the pavement, which is a shame, because if it wasn't for that little bit, it would have scored a clean 2 points for surface, but it reduced it to 1. So we've got these immediate stops, lots of them. And the crap that you saw on the path just back there, it was not untypical. There's lots of little bits of shards and broken things lying about, which, although I didn't get a puncture, kind of made me a bit wary and have to look where I was going. Talk about these buttons. It's for pedestrians and cyclists. They send an absolutely unambiguous message that the pedestrian and the cyclist who has to press a button to cross the road is a second-class citizen. He takes second place to the mighty motor car, of which I am a driver as well. And I think in an urban environment such as this, especially when you're going to call something a cycle superhighway, the enforced stops are, yeah, they send that message. They put you in second place. Why would you want to be there? Consequently, along with the enforced stops, of which there are many, you've got the obvious parking on both sides of the road and on the cycleway as well, as you can see there. And it does lead to extraordinary frustration on the part of the cyclist. And by this time I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm going to start going on the road here, because I've got too many stops and too many little diversions, or even big diversions, you'll see one later on, which slow your journey down, which is not what you want to do if you're trying to go from A to B. And in a lot of places, you seem to have been squeezed in where you can. There's still parking here, so it's not that there's room on the other side of the road for traffic going with the flow towards Leeds. Here we see one of these crossings where the first time I pressed, the wait was inordinate. It must have been about half a minute or something like that. I actually did it again, and I got an immediate reaction, which was quite strange, and I don't know what quite triggers those things. Along the route, you see that post there, which was in the middle of the road. You get these posts, and they just don't really help. They certainly add to the detriment of the cycle route, and they cost money. Now, there's an interesting incident coming up in a minute, when I think we're going into, is it Rodley or Stanningley? We're approaching Stanningley, and well, I'm going to slow the film down so you can see what happens. Now, as you can see, I move out of the cycle lane into the road, plenty of room, no traffic anywhere, plenty of room to kind of overtake, even with the car oncoming. And you'll hear the old pip pip, and then the bloke behind me overtakes me as quickly as he can, despite me moving at the same general speed as the traffic around, and cuts me off completely. He used his car as a weapon. Well done, have you got to where you're going faster?
What?
Have you got to where you're going faster?
No, but you've got a cycle there then, we can spent 14 million quid on it.
Yeah, no, it's a waste of money, I agree with you. Notice that where we pulled up there was literally no cycleway. And as in this village here, there is no cycleway. Plenty of parking, but absolutely no cycle path. And, you know, I don't blame this bloke getting frustrated. 29 million quid? I'd be angry as well. Well, I am. Yeah, 29 million quid. What do you get for your 29 million quid? How many people would have to use it to justify spending 29 million quid? I mean, on the piece of paper, on the 80-page report which is made of this, they've put a cycle stand that's cost £13,000. Now, call me kind of naive, but I've never wanted really to pay for parking in my entire life for a bike. You just chain it to a bloody fence or take it into where you're working. And I've had lots of bikes nicked, but it still has to go some way towards actually redressing that particular kind of cost input of £13,000. I can't see it. Here, I believe coming up, we've got, you'll see coming up an insane diversion, maybe 50 yards, 100 yards, which includes extra stops just to put you back on the same road again another 300 yards later. So we're bowling along here and we're starting to go downhill into Leeds now. Obviously we've got these stops which more and more encouraging me to move out into the main carriageway, and yeah, you can generally crack along much faster. You don't have the bus stops imposing in your way. You don't have to give way as much. You don't feel as guilty about moving in front of cars at these particular giveaways. And like there. And having said that, if I was using this on a regular basis, I would use sections of this track. But I'd get to know where the crappy bits were, and I would avoid them like the plague, and there are many of them as well. I'm not just kind of picking one or two out. But the last 2 or 3 miles was, well, yeah, I enjoy cycling, so, and, you know, it's a section like this is okay, but it's a pretty quiet road anyway. It's not, the best bit of the entire journey was the last mile or so, when I turned round and went onto the Leeds-Liverpool Canal, towards Leeds Central Station. I finally found the way down, which didn't involve steps, and you get to see cyclists moving along all the time. And this would score about a 7 or an 8 on the criteria which we're using, because you can see it's wide, it's traffic free, it's well surfaced. There's actually I would call that no immediate danger there, but you can disagree with that if you like. What it is, it's not meant to be the most precise appraisal method ever invented, but it's meant to be simple. It's something you can actually do on the back of a fag packet. So it sends a very, very clear message. You know, if you actually provide for cyclists, they will use them. And the proof of the pudding is this particular bit of eating. Regarding Bradford to Leeds, the main bit, it scores 3, maybe 4. Depends upon if you're being generous with the width. It will score 1/2 for surface. The surface is basically okay, so that's a 2. For the width, again, it's a 1/2 because it's only a yard wide or less in certain places. So that's a 3, we'll call it altogether. Then traffic, it scores none. There's lots of traffic on it, and through that village at the top, basically you're on the road anyway, so it doesn't score anything for traffic. So we're on 3. Enforced stops, no points for that. Is it easy to find your way? No, it's not really. You wouldn't tell your kids, say, go to Leeds along that road. You just wouldn't do it, so it scores nothing for points. Immediate danger, yeah, obviously the vehicles alongside you are not there. And what else is it to look at? there was something else, but it scores nothing for it anyway. So it scores 3 out of 10, which, if you actually split it into parts and said, this is the bit between Armley and Gotts Park, it would actually score a lot higher for those bits. But the moment you have to press a button, you know, it's being a second-class citizen, especially when cars don't have to press the buttons. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. It scored a 3. How many cyclists did we see between Bradford and this canal? The last mile, if that. We saw 2, and one of them wasn't on the Cycle Superhighway. That's what you get with a route which scores 3. You don't get many people actually using it. What was pertinent was alongside the canal, where it's basically 6 foot wide, it's a good surface where there are no cars. Well, I think the last bit scored nearly a 10. Maybe a 9 because of the bridge bit, and maybe even an 8. But the last mile, compared with 2 in the first 9 miles, the last mile must have seen 10, 15 cyclists. So the message is, use this, albeit crude, method of assessing cycleways, and it will give you a handle on their value and their potential value. It wouldn't take much to make Bradford to Leeds a little bit better. It'd take a lot to make it a decent, proper cycle route. As it is, it's not going to attract that many people, I can guarantee it. The only people who kind of seem to advocate are the people who have been persuaded by moral suasion. But in the long term, you've got to give somebody something. You've got to give somebody something of value. And the cycle route between Bradford and Leeds has little value over and above what the road had in the first place, although certain stretches of it are good. Certainly if I was cycling from Leeds to Bradford, the new cycle route probably won't make any difference to me if it was there or not. I'd probably just be flying through the cars and sticking my finger up at the motorists, same as what I always do. But never forget that doing what you do to cyclists out of Bradford, it is really treating you like second and third class citizens. It is the same people would have been putting black people to the back of buses in Alabama in 1953, would have been making Alan Turing drink bromine in 1960. I hope I've got the dates right. That have been hanging witches in Salem, that have been saying, oh, it's just the way of the world, kids going up chimneys, let's give them Sunday school. It's shameful. It shouldn't happen. It will put people off cycling. This last bit's good.